Hi friends, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm just out in my garden starting some of my cleanup for spring. I've already done some cleanup on these beds. There's been a lot of perennials that needed to be cut back, which I have started to do, and it's so nice to see a lot of fresh new growth coming through, and it's very exciting. Now I haven't pruned back my rose bushes or any of my butterfly bushes yet, and also hydrangeas. I haven't done pruning on them yet. I have to come out and prune this standard. This was quite damaged, and I'm kind of waiting for to see some buds on it before I mean there is some buds that are swelling on some of these, but for those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Preeti. I garden in Zone 6 in Toronto, and we are just about starting our spring. Lots of little bulbs are starting to appear, and buds are starting to appear on plants. So it's a tad bit early for us, but we've had a lot of warm weather, and a lot of plants are starting to wake up. But as we live in this weather, we also know that this can change. We are not frost free till sometime Victoria Day weekend, which is May 24. So it's really can be unpredictable till that point, but a lot of the hardy perennials are okay. They come back to life, and they can withstand some of the cold weather. But there are some sensitive plants, some apple trees, fruit trees that can get damaged. Some magnolias can get damaged. So a lot of the early budding varieties can get tricked at this time of the year, and they could get frost and have an adverse effect on them. But for most part, the plants will do okay. As you can see, I've cleaned out a lot of my perennials. There is still a lot of leaves everywhere, and I think as the plants grow, these leaves will get either taken in by the worms or they will disintegrate. So I'm not really overly cleaning up any of these leaves. I've left a lot of them in the ground. I will be mulching this area. This is one of the things that I want to do this year. Last year, because I was so busy planting and I was making changes, I didn't really want to mulch and then unmulch when I'm moving or adding plants. So I left it and I just weeded instead. But this year, I think most of my plants are in a good spot. Unless I make some changes, I don't think I need to make major changes to a lot of these things. But then it's gardening, and you see plants and you want to put some in, move some. So that's always going to happen in a garden. But for most part, I have most things placed where I want them to be, so I can start mulching some areas in it. And then you can see I have a lot of garden beds, so the mulching is quite expensive. So as much as I can use some of these leaves to provide some mulch, that's good, and it's also good for the soil. So I am not too worried about mulching, but I know that the plants, once they grow, they will fill in and carpet this area. So it's not something that is a priority for me, but I will get to it in areas where I feel I need to do that. This is my woodland garden. It's really not doing much right now. It's waking up. I cleaned up the hellebores, and I posted that in my previous video, and if you haven't checked it out, you can go and check out that video. But the hellebores are slowly waking up, and it was nice to come out here and clean those leaves and cut back. So as you can see, I am in the process of cutting back stuff and just pruning my perennials, my herbaceous perennials. None of them were pruned, and lots of buds are poking through, mostly daffodils and hyacinths. I am not too sure about my tulips. Just as they pop up, the squirrels or rabbits or someone keeps eating off the heads. So I will be glad if I see some tulips bloom, but I'm not really sure, and I'm not counting on it. But we'll see what's in store for me this season. But I'm excited. Lots of buds are poking their head through, and it's really nice to see that. And this is what the garden looks like now. It's almost April, and it's starting to wake up. I see lots of allium bulbs that are waking up there. So lots of action happening. So I went ahead and I pruned back a lot of my perennials from this bed, that bed yesterday. And today's job is to kind of work on this area a little bit. I still have a lot of perennials that over there that I am cutting back, and I have to manage this area here as well. So I'm gonna get to work and I'm going to start to clean up this. As you can see, this is so messy here. So lots of echinacea, just, you know, everything is still standing from fall, and I have to come in here and do some cleaning and pruning, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. And here is a tulip. Maybe it will hide from those squirrels in bloom. I don't know. We'll see. So it's nice to see things popping up, and I'm out here doing some cleanup, and I thought I'll show you what the garden is looking like today. This is primarily my backyard area, and I have many beds here. I have this whole area here, which is quite deep, and then it continues on till my shed, and then I have two beds that are on either side of this archway that I built a couple of years ago, just because this was a little bit of a tricky spot. It was slopey and I just wanted to do something fun with it, so I built this archway. So these two symmetrical, they're not symmetrical beds, they're symmetrical as in the placement of them, but planting is completely asymmetrical in these beds. And then this here is my entire woodland garden area. Lots and lots of plants here as well that should be waking up soon. And then I have a couple of fruit trees that I planted last year. It's an apricot and a plum tree. These are dwarf trees, and let's see how these do this year. I'm hoping they wake up and they bloom and they do something. We'll see. Last year they didn't do much because it was the first year that I planted them. They only had leaves, so we'll see what they do this year. And this is a patch I created with a lot of rescue plants last year. It was mostly firelight hydrangeas. There's some I think there is some echinacea in here. I got a patch of iris from a friend of mine, and I also put some I think these are some caryopteris as well. They were just, you know, nobody was buying them, and they were just sitting there. And ultimately I think they were like $5 or something each, and these are actually wonderful. They're also known as bluebeard. They are wonderful pollinator magnet plants. They bloom later in the summer, and they're absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't grown these, they are beautiful plants, right? And they are kind of like have the shrubby structure to them. They are like little shrubs, and they only get about 2 to 3 feet tall. So they're really nice to tuck into various spots, and they will add a nice amount of color here in the summer, and I'm excited. And some of these varieties also said they would bloom earlier, so I was really excited about that. And I have some, you know, a little gold star black-eyed Susans planted here, so I'm excited how this area is going to wake up. It was all from rescue plants that were just dying, or, you know, it's so rewarding to see what happens or what becomes of this. So I just want you to see what this looks like today, and I think, you know, it'll be nice to see the progress of this section as, you know, as time goes on. And yeah, so it's really nice to come out here and spend a good morning just cleaning up and being wishful and hopeful for what this is going to become in spring and summer. So I think that's what I'm doing today, and Ollie here wants to play with me, and he's brought his ball, so I'm gonna like play a little bit with him, and then I'm going to clean. Actually, the focus is to kind of clean this section out, so I will show you when I'm done with this. I don't know if you'll see too much of a difference, but I'll try to, like, you know, get all the perennials cut back. Like, there is sedum growing here that needs to be cut back. There is lots of like perennial stems that are sticking out. There are lots of shrubs in here which are still not mature, but they're there. So I might give them like a light pruning, and see how that does. I do have lilac in there too, and I do have a peach tree, and I have a serviceberry tree that should bloom soon. So I think it's exciting. It's super nice to get this thing a little bit cleaned out so that the bulbs have a chance to shine through. So I'm gonna get on with that, and I will show you when I'm all done. So I'm done cleaning up this area. As you can see that I haven't really picked up a lot of the leaves. I actually poked around some of the plants, and there's lots of earthworms, lots of little worms that are active underneath this leaf layer, and I feel like they'll take care of a lot of it. The only areas that I pulled back a little bit of this leaf was around these tiny sedums that are just greening up and coming to life. Isn't that so beautiful? It's so nice to see so much life underneath all of this leaf, and I also feel like the leaves are insulating a lot of the plants, and they are starting to wake up. Like, I've cut back a lot of my echinacea, my yarrow, my daylily. I had some iris, dried up stems, leaves everywhere. So I think I just feel good about cleaning up what I could in these beds. And I think now over the next 2-3 weeks, I'm going to see how this garden starts to wake up, and what else needs pruning. I know a lot of the shrubs are very young in my garden, so I don't want to like over prune them at this stage, just because I want to see how they grow and take shape, and then I will be pruning. I do have hydrangeas as well that are younger as well, which I will come out and just prune the flower heads, or like just maybe about 6 inches from the top, and anything that's damaged, disease, or crossing, I will get rid of that. But overall, I'm going to leave everything the way it is this year, just experience what it's going to do, and then you can always prune something if it's blocking your view or taking a shape that you don't want it to take. So it's always a possibility. And the only thing you have to remember with shrubs or early blooming plants is that you will lose flowers if you prune them at this time of the year. So you have to know when to prune things. Excuse me for this noise, because we have a garbage collector truck going down the street. But I wanted to thank you all for joining me today. I enjoyed my day, not even my day, my hour in the garden in the morning, just to fill my cup and just walk around and see what's happening and prune a few things. Things are starting to green up, and lots of buds are poking through, and I should be having some blooms soon. And I'll also walk in the front, and I'll show you what the front garden is looking like. There isn't that much leaves in the front, and I have cleaned up a lot of my perennials there already, so it's looking a lot better in the front. So I'll walk around and I'll show you what's happening there next. So this is what my front garden is looking like today. I do have some blooms on my heath here, and it's looking really pretty. It was blooming underneath the snow, and it was really exciting to see. Although this one is doing a lot better, but on this side here it has some dried up leaves, and I need to come and prune it. I'm not really sure why this one hasn't bloomed yet, or if it's going to bloom. We'll have to wait and watch. But this one here has been doing really well. Lots of daffodil bulbs are poking through. My geum is starting to wake up. A lot of the buds and bulbs are starting to wake up in this garden. As you can see, it's a lot more cleaner than the backyard, because I don't have a lot of leaves here. So plants are just about starting to wake up. And this is like the bulbs that I put in last minute last year, and I kind of used the section in the front here to put a bunch of bulbs in. So I'm excited to see what this area is going to turn out to be, how this is going to look as it wakes up. The rock garden survived all of that snow and damp, and I'm happy that it's finally like starting to dry, and I think it's going to look good once it's drier, the soil, and starts to grow. Lots and lots of bulbs here coming through. There's hyacinths that are coming through, daffodils. I think they're going to bloom soon. These are tete-a-tete daffodils, those tiny ones, and I can see lots of buds in them, so they should be blooming soon for me. And if you can see here, there is peony poking through as well. So lots of action in the ground. I think the soil is warming up, and my driveway garden too. I was out here yesterday and I cleaned some of this up, and I had a little crocus blooming here today. The flower is not open today, but it was open yesterday, and it was really pretty to see that first bloom in the garden. Yeah, so the phlox should start, it's also starting to green up, and it should be blooming, I think by end of April. It looks like things will start to like bloom in here. The bulbs for sure are blooming sooner than later this year. And lots of plants are waking up. I cleaned out this area as well, and it's looking really good. Things are starting to green up more and more as I see around me. There's lots of green and it's looking beautiful. This is just the beginning, so it's going to progress from here into awesomeness. So I have to come out and prune my roses, and I haven't done it, and I'm still waiting. I'm still holding on it. When I start to see some leaves and things happening on the roses or buds swell up, then I will clean them. But for now, they are just hanging in there. Still a little too early for me to do that. And yeah, I mean, yesterday I did give these hydrangeas a little bit of a prune, just because they are very young. There was a few broken stems, and I just cleaned them up, and hopefully they'll recover from what I did to them. And they're panicle hydrangeas. I have 3 bobos. The back one there is quite a bit destroyed compared to these 2. I did prune that one back quite a bit because it had a big stem at the base that was broken. And then this is a quick fire fab, which is there, and it was just planted last year, so there wasn't much to prune. I just, you know, left it the way it was, just trimmed the top of it, and it's going to be fine. Yeah, lots and lots of things to look forward to. And I wanted to thank you all for joining me this morning, and coming with me and seeing what my garden is doing. It's so nice to see all of these plants waking up, and I'm excited. And lots to clean up as always, but it's also such a nice time of the year to just enjoy all the new greens coming up in the garden. And I hope everyone is having a fabulous day. If you enjoyed watching this video, do give this video a thumbs up, because it tells me to keep making these videos. And I hope you're enjoying this time with me in the garden, and you know, getting some inspiration, or we are learning things together, and that's the point. And I hope you guys are having a fabulous day. Thank you for joining.